Hi everybody, my name is Jessica Holyfield. I'm a professional dancer, professional dance choreographer, and dance educator based out of the southeast of the United States. And we're going to be taking a look at round 1, match 5 of D.LEAGUE from the 2023-2024 season. And this is going to be a match between SEPTENI Raptures versus DIP Battles. So I do have for the first round, I have the results as well as who got the audience vote, and I may tailor some of my feedback to those points, maybe trying to understand why one group may have scored better than the others, something like that. But my goal is for the later rounds, as I get more comfortable with what kind of criteria the judges score off of and how they typically score with the range based on the type of routine it is, I may feel a little bit more comfortable with actually giving a guess on a point range that a team may receive, as well as who would be awarded the most points. But for right now, we're just placating. I'm just being more of a commentator and analyst on this. So we're gonna go ahead and check these teams out. Yo.
Let's get it. Y'all ain't ready.
I don't feel ready right now.
It's time. Hands in. On me.
They had a really cool start because that was a really hard beat to catch. Love this.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Living up to the hype, they'll talk these flows, be smooth. I'm off the chain, keep the doors closed, let's go. They living in fear, they do this for show. I show them it's real. Did what I said, so they call me. I told you that I'm here to win. All we do is win. All we do is win.
Oh, okay, we had a slight little hiccup right there in the transition. Oh. Wow. I think we lost the mask, but I wonder if that was on purpose. Wow, really great lighting choice on this.
We ain't finished yet. We just get started. Y'all ain't ready.
Woo! 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 Okay, let's talk about this from the top. So I do know that this one won. It was 5-1, and they got audience votes. So it makes me curious what DIP did concept-wise. But just analyzing this one, I think it's really cool. It really gives it dissection. It feels very like in the psychiatric hospital. It kind of gives off that creepy aesthetic. A lot of this, really great job catching these sounds. Like there's no way to really know when this track has started, you know? So if we actually listen, let's hear. That little, notice that they technically finished near the tail end of the sound, but it's still a really hard sound to commit to, and everybody committed to it very well. Watching the branch out, that using the voice, but in such a way that's just broken up and sporadic, and they used lighting and movement to help tailor that, which was really cool. Great demonstration and usage of levels, as well as showcasing different characters, you know, and it feels like it's a very full concept, and I love it, and very robotic, and I love that it has just this it's a bit unhinged but very structured, you know, like we have a lot of levels justified and showcased, and everyone's demonstrating subtly different techniques or different ways of executing their technique. It's just very fun to see. I know it's for me, I see like this is kind of our main person is what it gives off energy wise. She's setting it up. She's like, oh, ooh, you know, just the robotic animation kind of technique that they're doing is really fun. Dropping it down, the transition, hopping over the person, really nice. And then we all come up. She goes up, using her arms to create more of this lankiness, not animalistic, but more like alien-esque transition. It's freaking sick. And I love it having the clipboard really nice with the prop. It's simple. It is really cool to show that we have props, but the props are not taking away, they're adding, and it helps refine our concept, but it's not taking away from anything at all, you know, and we're not having to rely upon the prop as much to get their story across, and that's really good. This right here, they chose to do a vibration or this kind of jerking, rebounded reverb effect for a long time. Most of the time you see people do it for about maybe 4 counts, 2 counts, but they did it for about an 8 count. But honestly, I mean, it was pretty cool. But notice that we have this, they said bah to the clipboard, and then having the lights dial out, and then having them kind of go into this, what is this NPG kind of perspective from something very like electrocution based, but it's not quite electrocution. It kind of feels like something's going wrong, and like a seizure is what it's coming across more so, and I love that. Just they say goodbye to the clipboard, they bring it up, boom boom. Love the usage of levels. Most people drop low except for our main individual near the front. They went low, and I really like that. That was cool. Having our energy pull, boom. Now those kind of unison moments are important to make sure everybody's range is in check, because I will be able to appreciate your individuality. I will also be able to appreciate your transitions and your dynamic choices you make in your levels if you can hold down your unison at the same time. It shows that it's out of choice, not out of necessity for your incompetence of other areas. So you want all your areas to work for the other ones to be complemented based on the perception of how somebody watches your routine. So seeing this here is really nice. I love that boom, 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 really nice on the head eye. So using the feet to complement. I do think some of us don't have quite the clarity. Some of us are overshooting with the elbow. Some are draping over the wrist. Some are even hovering. So that'll be something to clarify. The swiping, that boom, doom, doom, nice little dig right there. Super fun. Bringing it up, little bit of tension, dropping it back down, allowing it to shift over and through. Now this part's really nice to watch because we saw such an unhinged, multi-layered, multi-tiered technique of mayhem take place in the beginning. So seeing this sense of structure and uniformity is really nice because it's something that we had not seen yet, you know. If they were doing more unison in the beginning, this wouldn't be as impactful. I love that little right there on the music. I love it. Transition is really nice. And I love that boom. Noticing they're using really full range, but they have a lot of air in their arms. It really is more difficult to clean air in arms than stagnant in staccato arms. And you know, I think that I'm a really, really big fan of this. And I love the fact that everybody is subtly different, but they're in the same family of the type of bagginess of their clothing. Now, some of it feels very like patchwork, and some feel very restrained. It kind of gives off the straight jacket vibe, which helps validate that, you know, it's psychiatric perspective that I'm getting off of this. You know, some are taking the role of the doctor, which has the mask kind of draped over it, and that's kind of cool. Now having your levels, having one of them face in opposition but the lower, really helped me clock and see them and makes me curious about what's going to happen. Because you notice she was low and then you saw her come high, we were able to capture this moment way faster than if everybody was doing the same thing. And then we saw this because notice everybody is making subtly different choices, right? And because our eye was already over here in this area is what made us notice what we needed to notice because of what I just mentioned. Because she was low and facing an opposition this way and lower than everybody else who was higher and facing their stage right, our left side. Going down to the back. Now look, and I think she's the only one that actually has a sense of black to her outfit too, which also helps us naturally see her as the feature or main feature in this. And now that I'm looking, it appears that everyone's a doctor except for her. Is what I just now noticed. So I think that's kind of cool. That swing through, boom, 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 having her moment with our 4. And then having this crawling on the floor, even though they're not in the light, I really do appreciate when there's a sense of framing happening, even when it's not the focal point. It shows that everyone's being utilized the whole time instead of having these stagnant moments, you know. And I really feel like in certain circumstances, it feels more appropriate to have stillness. And, you know, I would say with Katakawa Dreams, I did say that for them, I really wish we had more creative choices. And there were other components tailored behind that, not just their absence of movement when they weren't the feature. I just think that if you want an extra edge over your opponent, and that's something that they bring to the table and you don't, that could be something that you could refine and that can help elevate your performance in those areas. And that may be the difference between 1 or 2 points, which could be the difference between you taking a category. You know, so it's really fun to see. I love that boom, do-doom, which is nice. They pull it down all the way through. And I love this energy where we're kind of doing little CCs, but we're on our back. So it's a really nice breaking variant that we're seeing here. And it's creative. Rocking it back. I love this where they roll. And then we have our moment with those that are leaning onto the feet, rolling on the floor, having these framing in the back. Love having this moment where everyone has this really nice control. Seems that she is puppeting them to some degree, which I really like, and having them complemented on the sides. Also, all the hands are complementing, and it also appears that those that are on the floor are complementing in the upper body. So I really like that. That just feels really fun, and I love the choice of my 2 outside coming in to frame further and elevate the transition, because we have our other 2 from those that are on the bottom really create an anchor point to slide, because they have to be very creative in how they move, because they can't just get up to move. They're still down on the ground, and they are low-key holding somebody up, and so they have to be very cohesive to make sure that they move together, or it can look very disconnected. So, and it's pretty in center too. Oh, God, I love that. That twist down to that dolphin dive. God bless. That was cool. I love that build and the build and the build. And then we're here. Boom. Do-do-do-do. And then we have our level moment. Right? Lighting change. Notice we had some stability there. Some were doing unnecessary reverbs. Could be because they were trying to find their balance. Could be that. Love the use of the clipboard. Then that little krum, krum. Having that moment, which is cool. Boom. And then we have the clipboard in front. Looking over. Looking at her. They're like, okay. That boom, boom, boom. But this one right here. Snaps for that. That little with the leg. Do, 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 do. This is probably one of the coolest moments of the whole set. This was really nice. Looking at the clipboard, they're like, what? And everybody complimenting in certain parts of the isolations before they hit on the, this is like low-key with not a beat kill, but they're really doing a good job of articulating within the sound that they're hitting. And they're hitting it with very staccato, intricate ISOs. They're not making their ISOs too big that overpower the music, and I'm very appreciative of that. And I love that with the bass, that boom, everybody's together, because it helps justify that bass in comparison to the partner work that we saw. Everybody's grabbing their masks, and they took them away. So that was actually very, very nice, because I had not really noticed that. It just shows how seamless the transition was. And then there's fun boom with the body roll. I love it where everybody's committed to their angle and they're choosing to do a legato with a body roll here. That is pretty tricky to do, because there's a sense of an isolation that has to take place in not really a fixed point, but you have to be very mindful of how your body is responding to the body roll, because you don't want it to rock too far back or too far front when you're trying to keep it in a particular position. So that was really cool to see. Boom. And then molding it. Whoa, the snaking. Disgusting. I love it. That right there with the flip was really cool. We saw the goodbye mask. I love that energy where they go and they kick over to transition over back to our feature. Love the energy. Boom, boom, boom. Right there. Using the chest to really hit that bass to drop it all the way down. And I love everybody complimented that. Having R2 here, it feels like they're arguing with her over the operating table. It gives that energy, and I love it. So they transition it over. This does feel pretty similar to the previous formation we saw with those 2 guys where they had the leg on them and they moved. This one just feels more, notice she's a little bit hunched over, like we're overarched back on it. So it feels a little different. Notice that there is action happening on when it's not being featured. I love that, because it feels like we're still connected even if it's not in the lighting shot. That do-do-do-do-do, really love the peel down. She's the only one that's still there. Still tailoring to the animated beginning, but it's a little bit further in the transition where they're traveling a little bit more, so it doesn't feel as refined as what we saw earlier. I have no qualms with it. I really like it. It feels like we're becoming more human, or we're having more control. It feels like she's breaking free almost. I love it where she's back over here now, very similar to what we saw before, having more unison moment over here with everybody. Do-do-do, boom. Loved having that moment. With a little, not quite scarecrow or puppeting, but it's still really fun to see. Having everybody bleed in, that coming in, love the lighting. Good call on them to be consistent enough to be in the proper light. Love the framing, having them all look what she's doing. Love the usage of the clipboard still. Feels like they're all wearing glasses, but I don't know what they're wearing. That boom, great on the music. Then they're going here, they're looking at the clipboard, they're kind of all observing her as she's having, you know, a mental break or something of the nature. Super cool. They're all pointing, her having her moment. Great usage of having a feature throughout, but it doesn't take away. And it also allows other features to have their moment depending on what portion of this track is happening. And I think it's really fun. Love the energy. Boom, da da da, boom, da da da. Love it. Kicking it through. I love that energy. Hitting it around. The unison's really nice. So even though lighting is very helpful, you can't rely upon it to make the energy be where it needs to be. You have to hold it down, and the lighting is kind of like icing on the cake, or it complements. It doesn't carry as much value as you don't want to use it as a crutch. So they're doing a very good job of, even if they didn't have any lighting, this would have still felt very full to the track. Because you could tell by their usage of their chest as they extend their arms up and out in unison. Their range is pretty much in check, I would say. On this side, it's a little bit different. So everyone would need to just be very mindful of where their arm swings take place, especially if it's in unison, just especially near the tail end. We're getting a little tired. I'm not saying that they don't appear to be tired, but you're going to naturally be more fatigued near the end than you are in the beginning. Having this energy here, love it. Then we all drop down. She's the only one who didn't have her arm up because she's our feature. She gets a pass. I do feel like she could have put her arm up, but I love whenever they pop back up. You have your 4 that are down, drop a level, doing a good job. They're going out of, feels like, are they doing a shootout or are they doing like a CC? Let me see. And so they go like a da 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 da, and then they go da 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 da. I really like that. Super cool. I forgot what it's called, but it's just like it's like the heels where they hit it. It's not a shootout, but it's like a tap 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 tap. I forgot what that's called, but I have seen it before, and I really like that choice there. And they do a great job in the center of complementing that. They go, they hop it around really nice, and they choose a different 4. So they had their back 2 and their front 2 do a lot of this. Not quite a CC variant, but maybe a shootout variation. And then they switch it to my front 4, with the exception of our feature, to do and complement that secondary breaking moment. And I love that switching here. I love that she crawls forward. They're all like, ooh, melty, melty. Love it. She's the only one that's low. And then she's the only one that's high, and everybody tensions towards the direction she's pointing. They all come up and they finish. Really strong finish here. And they go using the legs to help complement, draping down to the floor, and they finish. Do I feel like we could have done a better job of refining the angle up here? Yes, but because of how they created these individual moments with this puppeting aesthetic, I think they get a pass for that, because it just feels like it does tailor to what they did in the other parts of their routine. So do I feel that they deserved audience and all their judging votes? I don't know, because I haven't seen DIP battles, so we're going to go ahead and watch them and give our thoughts.
少年よ、大志を抱け。溢れ出る発想と心を揺らす情熱を持って。若者よ、新時代を作れ。確信たる絆と燃え盛るステップに身を任せて。Lead, idea, passion, deep battles.
We're taking a more house approach to this. Woo! That was cool. Ooh.
つけるクリエイトアニメーション
Interesting. Okay, so do I see why DIP did not get the audience score or they did not win? Yes. So I really liked this. This was really fun and enjoyable. I feel, being honest, I don't feel like the lighting helped them as much as, let's say, SEPTENI Raptures that helped them with showcasing the right features. I feel like, if anything, it was too isolating to the particular feature groups that they had, and we weren't allowed to see any focal points happening outside of it. So we couldn't see any framing happening. It didn't quite feel as full either, but the time went by quickly, which shows you that it was very entertaining though. You know, how we started out, you know, we do a slow pan back. It's something where they're all just slowly integrating themselves onto the stage. Could their lack of density within having a lot of people do a lot of the content affect the in general scoring of this? Possibly. But I think the lighting really didn't help them nearly as much as I think was their intention. If they were against another group, probably, but I think based on who they were against and their concept, it did feel a bit lacking in the department of utilizing all of your members effectively for the amount of the routine that would be successful. You know, if we look here, we're already 42 seconds in, and we haven't technically started anything. So that could also be another thing. Their setup may have taken a little bit too long, possibly, but I do like having the spoken word in the beginning. I do feel like there is something that's happening, you know. Ooh, you know, let me go back. We're going to take a little listen. See if it actually picks up, if my little translator picks up on what. No, it just says music. So it's not picking this up really at all. Yeah. Yeah, so I mean, part of me really wants to understand what's being said. So if you are bilingual in Japanese and English, if you can please let me know what is being said there for better context, I would appreciate that. But notice we're about almost, I mean, if you think about it, this little red little dot right here is teetering pretty close to the middle, and we haven't really done a lot yet, you know. And so I think that could play a role. There's a time limit to these. I haven't quite looked at that element. I love having everybody be still though. It's really fun. I love it. It really feels like we're about to pop off, and they did pop off. I do feel it's interesting too that I really feel like it would have been a cool opportunity to see, at least in the silhouette, and then right into it. You know, I feel like there would have been a sense of communal energy, a sense of a pulse or a heartbeat that's taken place in this that would have felt like we were ebbing and flowing in unison before we broke off into our own interpretation of this. Really cool to see this. This was freaking sick. I love that. And that pull through, boom, da-da-doom. And I want you to notice this isn't quite as refined as, let's say, iMoon Concierge, you know, a medical concierge, because for them, they also had pretty baggy garments on, right? And I feel that here, I mean, if you look, you could definitely see that they had a sense of cohesion with how they were riding the pocket and riding the grooves of a lot of their sequences. And when you notice there was a tad bit of an overlap on some of the jack or the energy of their house groove happening here, but noticing this isn't quite as refined, that everybody is fully lengthening through the entirety of the jack, or they're either going too subtle or too extroverted in they're not complementing each other. It feels like everybody's just kind of doing their own thing on the track. It doesn't feel like we're enjoying the track in the nature that it needs to be here. But I love that boom, 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 you know, and some people are fully extending their legs, some are keeping it bent. So there's a little baby moments, but I love the energy of this though. I love the percussion and usage of more organic instruments. I always find more enjoyment in that personally. But remember, that's a preference. That's not just an analytic observation. That's just me being me. I do like this track. This track's freaking cool. I honestly may want to add it for my house playlist, and I would totally use it. It's freaking sick. And I love that boom, boom, the stability. Notice that they held that leg up, and they dropped it down, and then they had their moment. I love that. Dimming it down, bringing it around, tapping it down. Really great way to showcase that. But notice we haven't really seen everybody dancing in the same light. And I wonder if that placates or can be a consideration of maybe in the utilization of all their members, maybe they didn't quite get that higher score because we didn't see everybody. And so it lowers the complexity. Even here, I love this, you know, but once again, they're really choosing to placate to the lighting to their advantage here. We do see a lot of stagnant people, you know, moving. The energy of this is really cool, but also it is a bit tricky because of the video. It's hard to catch a lot of this. But I love having this moment of everybody having their own little feature moments, which is super cool. That branch through, boom, boom. I love the groups here. Great, and the complimenting here. I love the energy of the levels. Really nice having some highs and some lows. I love that, boom. But notice they didn't really mirror each other. They were kind of going the same angle and kind of doing the same thing, but they executed it slightly different. So that would be kind of something to note. I love the energy of this, and they're branching down. It does look like he hit him. And I gotta look. He rolled through. That right there, it was a really cool moment. I don't know if he made contact or not, but it doesn't matter. I love having our 3 down. We have somebody down over here, and we switch and they all add together. So this is technically the first time we've seen everybody. Technically, we haven't seen them do unison once yet. Even if it was unison in content, they're never facing the same way. So could that add to the complexity of they hadn't really done unison at all? Possibly, but could it also work against them because it's an element that normally can be a sense of captivation in a routine? Maybe. But to each their own. That's what I love about this. I love the jack there with that energy of holding this symbol here is fun, and then seeing your 2 join in and have their moment. And I love that. And then having this call and response is what it gives. And I really like that doom, do, 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 and they kind of walk their way through. I love that boom, boom, really nice. Having this moment, dropping it down. Love the usage of levels. Very creative ways to get down. The lighting change here was really cool and fun. But notice once again, like everyone's complimenting on the polyrhythms of the sound, you know, where they have that boom, boom, great way to do that. But we haven't seen unison yet, like at all. And I kind of feel like that could have really helped them, especially against a group like SEPTENI Raptures, because they brought a lot of this kind of feature elements like what we're seeing, but they also brought unison as well. And that's what really helped, I think, with their score, is that they were able to captivate and also tailor to different levels of how somebody can digest their work and show that the thoroughness of showcasing their range of formations, levels, and dynamics. And here it feels like we're kind of exploring similar feature avenues, not meaning that the features are the same, but it means that we are doing a lot of 2 breakoffs, 3 breakoffs, not quite appreciating the group as a whole, unless it's in that communal, like medical concierge Imun, how they did it, you know, where they kind of meshed very well together, you know. And I feel like a lot of these routines, if they were against a different person, the results may have been closer. I would also say that too, you know. And I love that. I love that energy. That was really cool. Loved it. Look at that. I love how it just freaking pops out. And I love the breaking down and the energy. That pull really great on the silhouette of the light. And that was cool to see him bleed through and then having the response happen. And notice that this kind of add-on is really interesting when it goes here, and then we have one person and contribute, and then they're still, and then we have somebody else contribute. It's just really fun on the peel out. Love it. And then you have that boom, boom. That was really fun. An interesting way to have one person and then our 2 people be featured. That was sick. That was cool. That little do-do-do-do-do, and then we bled through, which would have been really nice. That little boom, boom, and then having them compliment and bring him back up was a really cool choice. And then we're down, boom, ting, and a boom, ting. But notice now they're in the dark and we don't really get to appreciate them as much. Really cool feature though, seeing this, but we could have done something where both could have been affected or contributing with each other. I love this here. Boom, turn with the head right there. Do-do-do-do-do. Really nice on the freeze. This is our first and only unison section that we have, and it's near the tail end, and I love it. But notice though that with my guy in center, he's not quite investing with the hips as much as everybody else. He's kind of isolating it to the upper body, and because he's in that center, it's easier to see. And so that would be something of a huge note, that if you want unison, you want everybody to pop off similarly, you got to make sure everyone's on the same page on how they're choosing to create that opposition with those isos, or in the range of the torso to their hips. And so even though you're in the middle, it's still something, and he's taller too, so it's easier to see him. So that would just be my overall note. For the unison section, it's got to be crisp, especially if you want us to appreciate all the other break aparts and the ways that you've dynamically invested your texture and your individuality in your moments and in your features. You gotta show us that you know how to operate together as a group, so I don't appear or look at your features as you guys had to do that because you're not showcasing uniformity is not your strong suit. You don't want it to come across as a weakness, or you're using other things to compromise for your incompetence in other areas. Not saying they're incompetent. Not my point at all, but I'm saying it's really important whenever you do routines to not even give somebody the inkling or the questioning of, did they make this choice because they weren't very good at this particular style, executing it in unison in this particular way. That's my only note, more so of an observation, but this is still a freaking great routine. Part of me really wants, I should have recorded like the actual itemized scoring and then compared. I think it would have been really fun to see if DIP Battles brought this and Medical Concierge iMoon brought theirs and then did a comparison between the two, because they both have some very similarities between them when it comes to the costumes and the stylizing of the costumes, even though the coloring's different. I would say they both of them use a lot of house within their sets and different pockets of exploration, but similar styles. So I think that would have been a really fun mashup or competition or match to see. And I know we will see that eventually, but when you look at these routines and what they bring, part of me is like, oh, if this concept could be competed against this concept, I wonder what would happen, But to each their own. It's the match is at the discretion of what they bring to each match. It's the timing of your concepts for your matches do matter with who you're against, which goes back to what I said earlier about, I think it was the last match I just watched. I love the energy there, and they pull through and they go do. Notice there's not quite as much refinement on this. Could be because of their garment, but there is a bit of a spacing issue right here. Got a couple spacing discrepancies, so that would just be my overall note. Having somebody in the back, yeah, it makes sense because you have your overall what's the word? Symmetry. You want to maintain symmetry. And so notice my guy over here is a little too far in, so they need to scoot out just a smidgen. Having this on the side. Now, also, it looks like my front guy also did not even vibrate there. So we're going to go back and look at that. I think that's a big note too. So watch. It comes up. This part's fine. Dude. Yeah, he just kind of held it. So that's very interesting to see. That sliding through, boom. Notice it also felt like he didn't quite catch those pot of berets in the house as much. But then he caught right back on, turning it in. Nice and slow. Him having his moment coming up. Resetting, they all walk away. He steps back to walk away. That does remind me, remember I'm coming at it from an analyst viewpoint, not a judge viewpoint. If I was a judge, I would not say this. This does remind me of their crew preview that they showed wherever I think that could be our leader, where he walks back and he allows his members to kind of cross in front to showcase themselves first before he showcases himself. That's just my little Easter egg inkling, but it makes sense why SEPTENI Raptures dominated that round. I'm curious about the judge feedback on this. I know audience gave it to SEPTENI Raptures as well. I'm curious how close, whenever that judge who gave it to DIP, I'm curious what the translation will say, but we all know that Google Translate is not my best friend. But we're going to go ahead and check out the judge's commentary.
Round 1, 5th match. SEPTENI Raptures versus Dip Battles.
Dip Battles. DIP. Audience. Koji. Cats. Shinichi. Hari. I love how slow the last judges comes across.
フィフスマッチラプチャーズ対、ディトゥバトルズ。僕はですね、非常に迷ったんですけども、わずかながらラプチャーズの、勝ちとさせていただきました。ラプチャーズなんですけども、個々のスキルが高いチームで、いろいろアプローチからって苦しいなチームではあったと思うんですね。で、なかなか結果ついてこれず。で、今年のラプチャーがどう来るのかなと思って楽しみにしてきたんですけども。今回のそのさっき今までのラプチャーズ見たことない。
So because this is round 1, a lot of them are probably feeling like, okay, we're seeing it's similar, it's just a very different team.
はめて揃ってて、すごくかっこよかったです。
Yeah.
かっこよかったです。チームとして1本2本成長するって覚悟を持って多分今回のこのシーズンに挑んでると思うんで、それがすごくバーッと伝わりました。はい、かっこよかったです。バトルズなんてかぶったんですよね。カラーが。その柔軟チームいる中でこう戦いで被る見せ方はあんまないんですけど、今回ちょっとすごく被った感じがして、要するにダークな感じっていうか、ディップも
It does. I can see that.
ちょいちょい出してきてよかったんですけど、今回ディレクター変わって牽制はあるんですよね。 ケンセイの自分のスタイルというか見せたいとこを初戦にぶちかましてきた、そういう感じしました。荒々しさはあるんですけど動きの中に、でもすごくずっとこうハイテンションでずっとそれをキープして、ずっとトップギアでずっと作品通して走り抜けていくんですけど、その疾走感見て気持ちよかったです。ケンセイのソロも気合い入って
That's true. So they didn't really master music well.
その作品やっぱり比べた時にこう本当迷ったんですけど、一歩ちょっと
Yeah.
僕の中ではラプチャーズの方が勝ってました。
Both of your teams were freaking sick though.
ラプチャーズ
Oh,
に、入れました。
by a lot it looks like, by at least a point
見
each.
方がとってもクリアで、全体の統一感というか、テーマがはっきりしていたというか、でそこと衣装と皆さんの表情だったりとか、表現したい振りのニュアンスを取り入れた指先だったりとか、
Fingertips had incorporated the nuances of the gestures that they wanted to express.
いた印象で、
Yeah.
作品の完成度としてとても高いなと
Felt
思
the
います。
quality of the work was very high, so you used it and blended really well.
まあ
For
衣装
dip
を
battles.
あえてバラバラにして一人一人の個性を
Yeah.
入れることだと思うんです
The
けど、
costumes showcased individuality. I felt that it was a bit of a waste to use so much space throughout, and I felt like they could have added a little more content. Bingo, that's what I had said too. I really felt like they over featured it, I think.
ラプチャーズに
Yeah.
入りました。
Yeah, I agree.
これは俺はディップの方に入れました。ラプチャーズの方のテーマが人体研究ということで、曲もすごい個人的に好きなんですけど、シンプルにいい賞だったと。
Human body research in the song is one of my personal favorite.
周りの人たちが
Study the human body of when people around me were also doing it as a human experiment-like manner.
隅々まで使ったよう
Yeah,
な
still
って
show the
い
kids
う
a
ところ
little.
で、でもそのいろんな使い方したルーティンとかもとっても良かったし、ラプチャーズのまたことこうね、初戦勝てたっていうのがまた勢いついてくるんじゃないですかね。対するディップなんですけど、個人的にはすごい引き込まれるパフォーマンスだったですね。
So I kind of have the feeling that Dip Battles is very competitive, based on how they're like setting up with the match and how SEPTENI Raptures was kind of like the underdog in this match is what it feels like. But once again, I hadn't really seen. I wonder he was talking to. I gotta pause it because I had two thoughts that are going at the same time. So it kind of came across like SEPTENI Raptures is they kind of turned over a new leaf, and Dip Battles normally would be the one that people would expect to win a match like this, and so SEPTENI Raptures coming in to win by this kind of scoring showcases the overall like aesthetic of their growth, I'm assuming, as a team. Dip Battles, I know he also made the point of, I would say the leader, it felt like there was some restraint with him. I would agree, especially near that tail end is where you really see it. So I don't know if it was an injury thing or if it was something that's not feeling well, not sure, but I could tell near that tail end that there was some restraint there.
まず最初冒頭の始まりが、センターではなく
It didn't start in the center. That's a very good point.
何が始まる
But also I know with the camera work it's always going to be centered, but when you think about it, it didn't start in the center. That was cool. The beginning was complicated, but it was still digestible though. Yeah.
なんかちょっと時期的にハロウィーンに
That beginning dynamic was still so cool.
すごく面白かったなと思いました。ミュウさんのやはりボディ
That part was
素
sick.
晴らしいので、そこも相まって、作品としてすごく完成度の高いもので、新生ラプチャーズっていうのを感じていました。対してディップバトルズなんですけど、クロスカルチャー、クロスアイデンティティという作品テーマで、はじめ一人ずつ歩いてきて何が始まるのかなっていうワクワクした気持ちから、大暴れするような激しい動きが見せて、もうその段階で新しい見せ方、新しいの
Forgot to touch on that part. Decided to show me something new, so I actually forgot to touch on this part. That whole section right there where they had the stability, boom, boom, boom. Freaking great beat kill on that. I can't believe it. I think I was talking about something else about their lighting or overall just aesthetic of the track. But I absolutely love that opening sequence, but it just needed to be a tad bit more refined. But God, that was a cool moment.
新しい境地を見せていただいたんですけど、設定にラ ラプチャーズの方がやはりスキルとかクリエーションとか完成度の部分が高かったので、私はセプテニラプチャーズ
Creation and skill. Yeah, so she talked more so about like other criteria kind of went out.
セプテニラプチャーズに出ていただきました。
Ooh.
面白かったですね。とってもテーマ性があってダンスも見せ
I
場が
really do like
たく
this
さんあって
little pearl moments that she has on her eyes. It's
ダン
inspiring.
スの作品と
Didn't get bored, and finished quickly.
こう掛け合わせるとどっちが分量的に多くなるかっていうバランスってすごく難しいと思っていて、っていう部分で言うともうちょっとこう今回のテーマが見えなかったかなっていうのが正直な感想なんですけど、でもやっぱりこうダンス力だったりとかダンスの部分でしっかり見せてくれたなっていうのがあったので、今回の開幕戦ですごいいい勝利だったんじゃないかなと思います。ディープバトルスめちゃくちゃ面白かったですね。見るようなこう入り口から最後の終わりまでちょっと天才的ないい意味でネジが外れた子がいるんだろうなっていう感覚になった作品で、
I didn't see that. I'm honestly surprised she said this little segment in their battle. I was expecting her to say it in Septeni Rapture's battle because it felt like
その
that.
中でもたくさんこの交差入れ替えっていう構成がすごく面白くて、本人たちがこういうのがしたいっていうのもすごく伝わってくるし、なんかそういう意味でマッチしてる作品だったなと思いますね。なんか勢いがすごいと思うので、これからすごい期待したいですね。
That was cool. That was cool. I like that. Yeah, so I mean, I pretty much agree for the most part. I mean, I would add that it could just be just from my viewpoint. I really think the lighting from Dip Battles, we could have made a different choice on some of those scenes, because I feel like if we were allowing a lot of the other dancers to frame some of those feature moments more, it would have felt more full. And I think the complexity would have elevated as well, because you have more people represented within that feature versus just having that one person doing one thing captivating. Because I think I said something along those lines about, who was it? I think it was for round one. It was Value Infinities. Their set was freaking sick, but they had a lot of like one person features or one person complex moments. But if everybody was doing those complex moments, it'd be a very different story. And also they were against a group like Cyber Agent Legit, which I almost threw my notebook down. That was phenomenal. For one of my first actual matches, like my first match to ever watch, that was pretty freaking great if you ask me. But all in all, I agree with the scoring for that, and the audience makes sense why they picked Septeni Raptures. For me, I would have also picked Septeni Raptures, but I think Dip Battles, they had some amazing moments in their set too. It was really cool. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you want to see more D.LEAGUE, I always try to release it on YouTube in a timely manner. Right now I'm playing catch up at the time of making this video, where they just finished round 4 and I'm still hanging out in round 1, so I still got a long way to go, but lots of fun to be had. But I always early release like this video on Patreon, and I always tend to do that just so it allows that opportunity to kind of just see in the moment before it makes its way to YouTube. If you are somebody that wants to get early access to stuff, Patreon is a really cool thing to consider. If you like other avenues of dance, whether it's battles, K-pop, choreography, things of the like from multiple countries, I do cover a lot of content, and from reality shows to K-pop groups to battle, things like that. So I hope you enjoy your time here if you came for D.LEAGUE, but if you discovered this from watching some of my other content, welcome. I hope you're enjoying it as much as I am. Once again, I am Jess, and I will catch you on the flip side. Bye.